One of the first speeches of the night was probably my favorite. Like him and Tucker, I think are on the same level.
The preacher. I love this
Pastor
guy.
Lorenzo Sewell. Oh my God, do I want to go to this man's
Oh my God,
church.
Me too.
Pastor
So
Lorenzo Sewell, I have the honor and the privilege of being the senior pastor at 180 Church. And we were blessed last month to have President Donald Trump come to Detroit, Michigan. Let's go!
I love him.
To all my friends back in Detroit who are Democrats, I want to ask you just one simple question. You can't deny the power of God on this man's life. You can't deny that God protected him. You cannot deny that it was a millimeter miracle that was able to save this man's life. Could it be that Jesus Christ preserved him for such a time as this? Could it be?
I love this so much.
Could it be that when we prayed for him when he came to the round table in Detroit, that Jesus asked and he received, that we sought him and then he found protection? Could it be that the King of glory, the Lord God strong and mighty, the God who is mighty in battle, protected Donald Trump because he wants to use him for such a time as this? If you believe that, come on, put your hands together and give our great God great glory.
And then he just leaves.
Chills. I just love him. I get chills listening to him. He's the best. The best.
Oh my God. That was like the most hype thing ever.
Oh, the whole thing was just amazing, you guys. If you haven't seen that, you need to watch the whole thing.
Because it's
amazing.
I think he runs about 8 minutes in total. So
the whole thing was awesome.
Tiny piece of it. And then he just walks off the stage, man. It's just like he knew he left the crowd electrified. And he was like, I'm out.
Mic drop.
Oh my God. So good. And then Alina Habba was also one of the speakers, and she got real emotional. She was describing Trump's many roles. But when she got to the part about her particular relationship with him beyond just being his attorney, she gets real choked up.
But to me, he is my friend. Not too long ago, a supporter shouted, "God bless you and President Trump," in the middle of Manhattan after one of our trials. Little did that man know that I was on the phone with the president himself. And he immediately asked me to pause, give the man my phone, and spent time speaking to him and thanking him for his support.
I love those stories, man.
I do too. There are like a lot of those little stories, and I love that.
Yeah.
It's really, really neat.
So neat. Kim Donaldson says, y'all, I just choked on my meds. You have me laughing. I don't even know why. I don't know what we did.
I don't either. I don't know what we did either. I'm sorry that you choked. I'm sorry. Be careful.
And Jose says, TGIF from Texas, y'all. If true about the Dems moving towards an open convention, these next 30 days are critical for the Republicans to get their message out and do all the swaying while the Dems are in disarray. Take my money.
It's so true.
Yeah. And will we meet that moment? That is the question, because we got some work to do.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I just got a call last night from the person who runs all the precinct chairs here in my little area in Texas. And she was like, we're having a meeting on Tuesday. So they're gearing up to get precinct chairs out there to like assemble and do the things. Yeah. So people are getting ready. It's going to be a fight.
Tucker, also phenomenal. So I've clipped just, a handful of clips. I think his whole thing was around 11 minutes. And so we obviously can't play that whole thing, but him even just coming onto the stage and being delighted, with the reaction of the crowd is just so quintessentially Tucker. So I included just a little tiny bit of his beginning remarks.
For having me. I have
his laugh.
I have been to many conventions. I have never been to a more fun convention or a convention with better vibes. They literally let Navarro out of prison. First of all, thank you. This feels a lot different from what I thought it was going to feel like. I can't hear you, but I know it's something good.
Just laugh.
So then he starts to talk about watching, as we all did, what happened last Saturday and his initial thoughts about seeing Trump's reaction to being almost assassinated.
I watched the video of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania about 50 times. I think I was one of about 8 billion people around the world who watched it. And the more I watched it, the more it struck me that everything was different after that moment. Everything. This convention is different. The nation is different. The world is different. Donald Trump is different. When he stood up after being shot in the face, bloodied, and put his hand up, I thought at that moment, that was a transformation. This was no longer a man. Well, I think that. I think it was divine intervention. But the effect that it had on Donald Trump, he was no longer just a political party's nominee or a former president or a future president. This was the leader of a nation.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that part. God, I love that part.
Do you have the last clip from him? Is that
I've got a couple. No, I've got a few more.
Okay, good.
There was also there was such a theme throughout all of the speakers of all of the nights about how Trump really cares about people and how the narrative out there, or it's very easy to look at Trump and just think he's just nothing but ego and narcissism,
Right.
but that in his personal interactions, that's not the case at all. And Tucker talked about that.
I think
too.
it changed him. He reached out to Trump within hours of it that night. And what he said to me that night, having just been shot in the face, he said not a single word about himself. He said only how amazed he was and how proud he was of the crowd, which didn't run. And I thought two things. The first thing I thought was, well, of course they didn't run. His courage gave them heart. A leader's courage gives courage to his people. And the second thing I thought was, this is the selfish guy I've been hearing about for 9 years, really? Not a word about himself? About his people, period. And the second thing I noticed, which I don't think anyone has remarked upon in public, but I'm just going to since I don't have a script, like why not, is that he turned down the most obvious opportunity in politics to inflame the nation after being shot. To inflame the nation, which is an opportunity that almost every other politician I've ever met, and certainly his opponents, would have taken instantly. Mm-hmm. And they would have said, well, what is this? How did he get shot? Like, how did this happen? And those are real questions that we have to get to the bottom of. But in the moments, the days, the week after the shooting, he did not say that. He did his best to bring the country together. And I thought, this is the divisive figure? This is the irresponsible person? No. This is the most responsible, unifying behavior of a leader I think I've ever seen. A leader.
Yep. I mean, that's true.
It's so good. I mean, it was very hard to even pare this down, you guys, because when he started talking about democracy, which of course has been a word that's been thrown at us as Trump being a threat to.
Oh my God, it's been shoved down our throats.
My God, it was just, this was such a refreshing take on democracy from Tucker.
Leader's duty is to his people, to his country, and to no other. That's the point. That's the only point. And another word for this is democracy. Democracy, in case you're a little sick of being beaten in the face with democracy on television, actual democracy is the proposition that the citizens of a country own that country. They're not renters, they're not serfs, they're not slaves, they are the owners of the country. And for that to be true, their leaders have to represent them, which is another way of saying they have to do what the people want them to do, or a close approximation thereof. But if they completely ignore what people want, not just 1 year, but generationally, say for 50 years, then it may be, I don't know what, it's not a democracy. And so I think the entire Trump project, paradoxically, he's attacked as an enemy of democracy, is to return democracy to the United States. Hey, let's pay attention to what people actually want. And the lack of interest in that question in Washington is something that ultimately drove me out of the city after 35 years. But if
It's just such a good take on
Yeah, it
democracy.
really is. And the way that he gets up on a stage, and he probably, a lot of that he just ad-libbed.
He ad-libbed the whole entire thing. There was not a
he's-
teleprompter to be found with him.
Right. He's just a remarkable guy. There's nobody like Tucker.
And he has his crazy moments.
Oh, yeah.
Can't deny it. But
Totally.
But he also doesn't deny it. You know
Nope.
what I mean? That's one of the things that's so adorable about him is that he's the first to say, I may not be right. And I've been wrong about a million things. I mean, he says that all the time, you know.
But he really is a treasure, that guy.
It continued, like the hype was like I was feeling super hype at that point too, and the hype continued with Hulk Hogan.
His family was compromised. When I look out there and I see Donald Trump, I think about how his business was compromised. But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania
Oh my
rule
gosh.
again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
So 80s, man. Like they knew it, you know. There's so many 80s elements to like everything. Like it's very Reagan-esque and 80s. If you're a Gen Xer and you watch this convention, like how can you not feel nostalgic about the country? Is it just me? Am I the only one? I just felt like
there's huge nostalgia.
there's like that nostalgic 80s hopefulness, you know, and the whole thing was like that for me. I felt like, okay, we may get back on track here. We could do this, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm in that generation, but that's how I felt when I saw
He
a lot
looks
of.
no different than he
At all.
ever has ever. Like, how does that even work?
I don't understand it either. I don't.
That was incredible. And then there was Kid Rock. I'm not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but this is what the beginning sounded like.
What up, America? If you're ready for President Trump to take the stage, I need everybody to stand up. I need everybody to put a fist up in the air. Everybody, get a fist up in the air. Now follow me. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say Trump, buddy.
I love the old people just jamming. It's my favorite. Like my daughter goes, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Honey, that's Kid Rock." You know, he was like, he's in our generation. And then my mother-in-law was also there, and she knew exactly who it was. You know,
Oh my
She's
gosh.
like 80 and knows who Kid Rock is, right? But I think it's hysterical. Like all the old people in the audience were like, "I'm going to get up and I'm going to jam to this." You know, it was so great, you guys.
Oh my God. It
It's
was a little,
great.
he's a little much for me. He always has been. Not a fan. I'll just put it out there. But like, I love that he was there. I love that he was included. I love
do
all
too.
of that.
I love it.
And I have no problem with it whatsoever. And then everybody expected Dana White to be super hype. Somebody, Osuki on Local says, I think Dana White is the one that said the quote from earlier that I was like, I don't even remember who said that. But anyway, here is a little piece of Dana's intro to Trump.
And I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I know. And I know President Trump. I know President Trump is a fighter. I've been saying this since 2015. Now look at what's happened over the last 10 years. We have all seen it with our own eyes. I'm in the tough guy business, and this man is the toughest, most resilient human being that I've ever met in my life. The higher the stakes, the harder he fights, and this guy never, ever gives up. So what's at stake here? The answer is in President Trump's text, and I quote, "A fight for our country." I know why he's running for president again. Why else would he put himself through everything he's dealt with just to get back here? We all know he doesn't need this. This guy's got a great life. He has a beautiful family, and he has achieved everything that you could possibly achieve in life. I know President Trump is literally putting his life on the line for something bigger than himself, and he's willing to risk it all because he loves this country.
Yeah. I mean, it was great.
It was great. I mean, you
Mhm.
can't not get hype when you listen to Dana White.
Uh-huh.
You can't. You
Right.
can't.